Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stampin' Chat. I am Gina from Gina K Designs, and it's great to see all of you out there joining us from all around the world. Today's Crafternoon is actually not live. This is a pre-recorded Stampin' Chat, but Tom and I are chatting live in the comments. Yay! So we are really excited to have all of you joining us today. And I have to show you my shirt. I have to get up on something. I gotta show you my shirt. Ugh. So see, this is my rainbow blended shirt. It's really long though. I wish the rainbow blend stopped about here. But anyway, I am wearing this shirt today because we are going to be doing a video all about rainbows. Now, this video is a long time coming because a lot of you have asked, what other colors can I use when I'm making a rainbow? I tend to always use those same traditional summer bright rainbow colors. But today we're going to make a different rainbow for each season. But before we get started, let's say hello to Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, everybody. Happy Stampin' Chat premiere.
Yes. How are you today?
I'm great. I am better than horrible.
Is the dead space feeling a little deader today than usual?
Dead space is on premieres can be very dead. Yes. We're here alone in the building.
Yes, it's very quiet around here today.
And we usually have employees, staff running around and things, alarms going off and things breaking. And
yeah.
So, yeah, it's very quiet, but
it's going to be a good one today because we're going to really brighten it up. And I've got a lot of information to pack in this video today.
Very cool. Yeah, we've got some of the things you're doing. I can't wait. It's very cool.
Yes, it's going to be very fun. So why don't we get started right away? All right, so I want to show you the stencils that I'm going to be using today. I'm going to be using these 4 stencils. So for my winter rainbow, I'm going to be using our Stellar Snowflake stencil. For my summer rainbow, I'm going to be using this stencil. This is called Floral. And I named this stencil Floral when we only had like 4 stencils in our collection. So I thought, yeah, well, this is the floral one. Little did I know we would have, 1,000 florals. But this one is just called Floral. And then this one for my autumn rainbow is called Leafy. I think this is going to be a really good one. And I love this stencil and I don't give it enough love. So if you have this one in your collection, I'm going to show you a fun way to use it. And then this one is called Bold Bouquet. And I'm going to be using this one for my spring rainbow. Now, let's start and talk about the summer colors real quick before we get started. So this is the summer rainbow that I always recommend. I tend to use this one all the time, and it's just because it's sitting out all the time. You can use other colors, but this is the one I use all the time, and you might think that this is the only thing you can use. So here I have Red Hot, Tangerine Twist, Wild Dandelion, Lucky Clover, Turquoise Sea, and Wild Lilac. So that is kind of what I like to use. Now, some people question me about this choice here, this Turquoise Sea, because if you go with Roy G. Biv, which is spelled out ROYGBIV, there are actually 7 colors, and we have blue and indigo, which is kind of similar to, let me grab the colors here. Maybe I have them out already. I probably do. But like blue would be more like this, right? That's powder blue. And then indigo would be a little bit more like blue denim. So that would be the rainbow. But I'm a crafter and I like to mix things up a little bit. And I really love the look of turquoise. And what happens if you eliminate these 2 colors from your mix and you pop turquoise in there? What happens is you get a very nice blue-green in between these 2. And then you have a true turquoise. And then you get a more powdery blue into wisteria when you blend these 2 colors together. So that's why this rainbow works really well. So once again, Red Hot, Tangerine Twist, Wild Dandelion, Lucky Clover, Turquoise Sea, and Wild Lilac. And I will be listing all of these colors that I use in today's video for each rainbow in the description on YouTube. So if you go to the YouTube video and you click on the description, everything will be there. All right, so that is my summer rainbow. But I am going to start with my lightest rainbow, which is going to be my spring rainbow. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I have one set of blending brushes that I'm going to use. I have a few extras for certain colors, but I basically use the same blending brushes for everything. I have one for each color family. And so I'm going to go light to dark so I don't have to spend too much time cleaning my brushes. So for my spring rainbow, and I'm altering this a little bit, instead of using red, I'm going to use pink. Now, pink would normally fall between your violet or your purple and your red, because I know a lot of people are going to say, no, Gina, you're wrong here. When you mix purple and red together, you do get a shade of magenta, which is in the pink family. Now, a lot of people will say you have to mix white into red to get pink, and that is true. But if you mix pink into purple, it will work, right? And if you mix pink into red, that will work. That's why this is a decent substitute for red in this spring rainbow. Okay, so now we're going to use Bubblegum Pink. We're going to use Sweet Mango, which is a lighter orange. We're going to use Lemon Drop, Applemint, Ocean Mist, and lovely Lavender. So this is going to be the rainbow I'm going to use for my first card, along with this bold bouquet. Now you can substitute other colors in here. Of course, you don't have to use these exact colors. If you don't have bubblegum, you could try Innocent Pink. If you don't have Sweet Mango, you can try Peach Bellini. If you don't have lovely Lavender, you can use the light Lilac. If you don't have Ocean Mist, you can use Sea Glass. So lots of different substitutes you can make. So I'm going to start by adhering this panel. I've got a 3.5 by 4 3/4 panel in white, and I'm going to do all the same sizes here just to make it easy. And then I actually completed my cards a little bit earlier to show you what they look like, so we can focus more on this part of the video. All right, so I am going to just tape this to the back of my stencil like that. And you can see I got this whole flower into the mix, and this one is cut off a little bit. And if you want to tape it down just to keep it secure, you certainly can. Some of you use a sticky mat. Others have that really cool new Tim Holtz mat. I've just got a piece of scrap paper here that I'm using. And then for my blending brush, this is my pink blending brush. It's got lots of passionate pink on it and other pinks. So I'm just going to rub most of that color off, just so that it gets lighter. And once it gets pretty light, I know it's not going to contaminate the color too much. So I'm going to start with Bubblegum Pink, and I'm going to bring that in across the top. So let's get some Bubblegum Pink in there. This is such a beautiful color. And again, you could use Innocent Pink here. If you're going to use something like Dusty Rose, just make sure you use a very light hand. All right, now my next color is going to be the Sweet Mango. And one thing I really wanted to stress too, these kinds of stencils sometimes can be a little bit intimidating for people because they're not broken out. So you don't have the green parts on one stencil and the flower parts on another. And sometimes it's hard for people to figure out how to make this look good. I think these stencils are amazing when you do these color blends rather than trying to absolutely nail every single part of it. It can be done, and it's beautiful when it is done, but this is just a quick, easy way to create a beautiful stenciled image. Now here's my Sweet Mango going in there. And you see I'm blending that into that pink a little bit. And then I can come back with that pink brush and go down into that mango just to kind of remove the line of demarcation between them. But I do want to make sure I've got a lot of that pink up at the top. Okay, now my next color is going to be Lemon Drop. And Lemon Drop is a very, very pale, lemony yellow. A little bit different than Wild Dandelion, which is a very bright, vibrant, summery yellow. So I'm going to use this. Let me get this over here. I'm going to use Lemon Drop, ink up my brush real well, and I'm going to just continue coming down. You can see I'm coming down a little bit on an angle. I'm not going straight across on this one, but you can. And if I bring that color up into that orange, you can see it turns a little bit Wild Dandelion-like. It gets more vibrant because I'm mixing that orange in there. And Wild Dandelion actually has more orange in it. That's why it's so vibrant, where this is definitely just a pale yellow. All right, now my next color is Applemint. If you don't have Applemint, you can certainly use a very light-handed Jelly Bean Green, or a very, very light-handed Lucky Clover. But Applemint is really an interesting color because it really blends beautifully in with the yellows, and it doesn't have that, I don't know, it doesn't have that real yellowy green look to it, though, like a jelly bean or a fresh asparagus. Okay, 2 more colors to go. Make sure we have enough room. So I'm using Ocean Mist next. I don't use Ocean Mist as much as I use Sea Glass, so I decided to add Ocean Mist to this blend. And I really, really like this color. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful blue. And I'm going to work it up into that green a little bit. And you can see how this becomes a more emerald green in there. Very oceany. And then my last color is going to be that lovely lavender. Okay. And again, I'm going to use my one that I use with Wild Lilac all the time. I want to brush some of that color off. And then we'll get that inked up. And we'll bring that up from the bottom here. Now, these colors are very, very light, very soft colors. So they're meant to be. They're meant to work great in in unison with the darker versions of these colors, like our summer brights. But you don't over ink, because the whole idea for this card is we're making a very light spring look. Okay, and let's take a look at what this rainbow looks like. Isn't that just so pretty and soft? Very different than our very bright rainbows. And I like this kind of look for a sympathy card. I really like it for an encouragement card, because rainbows, they're God's promise, right? So they really do kind of, when you see something like that, it's a lot of hope. You feel a lot of hope from that. So that is the spring rainbow. Now, I made a card, and I want to show you what my card looks like with the spring rainbow. So what I did here is I put it on a lemon drop card base. And I think that really brings the lemon out in this area of the card, because that's kind of in the middle, and it's so pale that it just enhances it a little bit. And then I used a greeting from the Crafty Notes stamp set, wishing you a colorful birthday. And I could have made this a sympathy card, but I also think it's great for anything. And then I used our rainbow pearls, and I picked through them and found the ones that I thought looked the most like those colors. Now, that green one might be a little fluorescent for the card, but I really, once I started with this pale pink and a little brighter, and then the orange, the yellow, I couldn't skip the green. I had to put it in there. I could have used a white one and colored it with Copic markers to make it match a little better, but I don't think it looks bad. I used a bigger blue one there, and then a purple one that has a little bit of a pinkish hue. So there we go. That is the spring rainbow, and a fun way to use this big stencil. I'll bring these cards back out again at the end. So let me move this out of the way. And now we're going to go to the summer rainbow. So for the summer rainbow, I'm going to use this one. This is the one that's called Floral. just straight away floral. And you're going to be able to see how bright and vibrant this looks compared to the spring rainbow. Because when you just look at this card, you might say, well, yeah, it looks like a rainbow like your other cards, but you'll see a big difference when I put them side by side. So let me get these colors out of the way, and we're going to move to those summer colors that we already went through. The Red Hot, the Tangerine Twist, the Wild Dandelion, Lucky Clover, Turquoise Sea, and Wild Lilac. All right, now this one I'm going to place onto my card where it kind of goes off both sides a little bit, like that. And then I am going to find my pixie tape, and I'm going to tape this on top. Now this one is going to be a lot more vibrant, and I don't have to worry about cleaning my brushes because I'm going to use colors that were very similar to what I just used, except brighter versions of them. So that first round isn't going to make a difference. But instead of starting with pink, I am starting with red. Now, if you don't have Red Hot, you can use Red Velvet. Red Velvet is a great summer red. It's also a great Christmas red. It's a very true red. Red Hot has a little bit more orange in it, so it's more Calypso red, and I kind of like that for summer because that's what it feels like, where I tend to use Red Velvet more for holiday cards because it's just that true pure red, but it'll work just fine either way. So this rainbow, I'm going to go more straight across instead of down on an angle, and I'm going to start at the top here with this bright, vibrant red. And you really want to lay down a lot of color because you want it to be really vibrant. You can see how pretty that is. Get it nice and dark up at the top. Okay, so there's my red. Now my next color is going to be Tangerine Twist right here. I'm going to use that same brush that I just used. And that's the beauty of having a brush per color family. You can either rub off the color if you're, working with a lighter version, or you can just go ahead and ink it up if you're working with a darker version. And so there is my Tangerine Twist. Okay, and it looks really blended nicely, so I don't have to go back over it with the red. All right, now we're going to add that Wild Dandelion in here. And you'll see this one is just so much easier to see than that lemon drop. It's so vibrant. And this one, I'm going to work up into that orange a little bit. And then I'm actually going to take that orange and I'm going to fade a little bit down into that yellow. Because that's, yellow and orange is a big contrast compared to the orange and the red. Now my next color is going to be the Lucky Clover. Right here, this one. This is a very true green. It's kind of a primary green. I feel like it works for everything green that you need to do. You can see I'm blending right up into that yellow a little bit. And I'm making this nice and bright here. All right. Now next we're going to go with the Turquoise Sea. And this is the controversial color because a lot of people like to see blue here. And if you prefer to see blue, do blue. You don't have to do what I do. But I guess turquoise is, you guys know, turquoise, teal, anything like that is my favorite color. So there's no way I'm going to leave it out of a rainbow. I'm just not going to do it. You can create it with the green and the blue, but look at that. That has to be in there. We need it. Love that. Okay, just a little bit more. And then I'm going up into that green a little bit. And you see it, once again, it gets very emerald in there, but much more vibrant. It almost appears to glow right along that line. And then my final color is going to be the Wild Lilac. So let me get that brush again. Here it is. I'll add that in there. Coming up from the bottom into that blue. And you can see where it hits the blue, it starts to turn a lot more periwinkle, which is beautiful too. And that's how you get those great color blends. Don't be afraid to go up into that last color that you did. Okay. Now let's take a look at that rainbow. Oh, I love this one. So bright. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So as you can see, this one was so soft and pale and very spring-like. This is very jewel tone, very bold. So let me show you the card that I made with this and what I did. Super easy card. I just added this panel onto black and onto a Lucky Clover card base. And I picked Lucky Clover because once again, I feel like my yellow came down pretty far and my blue came up pretty far. And I wanted to really accentuate that little bit of Lucky Clover that you can see in there. And then I added the greeting, "You are beautiful like a rainbow." And that is from the Just Add Color little mini stamp set. And then I added some disco ball sequins because I think disco ball sequins are really great when you don't know what color to add. If you don't have like any primary things to add, the disco ball just picks up all of those colors. So that is my summer rainbow card. And you can see it's such a contrast between my spring rainbow and my summer rainbow. All right, so now we're going to move into my next rainbow card. Okay, let me put these aside because these are going to make great cards later. I can make a second round. So now I want to move into the autumn rainbow. Now the autumn rainbow can be done a lot of different ways. But what I thought I would do with this card is instead of doing a whole big rainbow thing, I wanted to use this stencil. This is the Leafy stencil. And I want to kind of create a strip going down. Now, what I like about this card that I'm going to show you and this design is it is a great one for masculine cards. So with the upcoming Father's Day holiday, you may decide that this is just a real quick and easy card that you can make. It's great for male birthday cards. It just has, I don't know, it just has a really nice masculine feel to it. But of course, it can be for anyone. So I'm using the Masking Magic strips, and I've chosen a 1/4-inch strip for this one. I'm going to put this 1/4-inch strip here. And I'm going to line it up right along the edge. Like that. Okay. So now I've got that lined up. Now I'm going to get one of the 1/2-inch strips. They have the green backing, so they're easy to pick out. And then I want to look at this and see about how far over I want it to go. So I want to get a full row of leaves and a little bit more than, or just about half of the ones on either side. So if I lay that right about here, I can kind of figure that I want it to go right about here. So I can kind of see that. I'm going to pop that right there and make sure that it looks fairly straight. There we go. And now I'm going to lay this stencil on top so that I have the middle ones down the middle there, right? It looks like these are kind of on the line a little bit. I just want to try to get that as straight as possible. I think that looks pretty good. I might move it over just a little bit. We'll see. This is where you can kind of tell, did you get your line straight? And I feel like this line might not be as straight. So I'm going to go back and reposition this a bit. And if you really have trouble, what you can do is you can just start at the top And make sure that that's straight, and that will help you get it to be a little straighter going down. But I don't like to do that too much unless I use a Post-it note up there. So another way to do it is to look at it this way. Sometimes it's easier to do a straight line when you're looking at it going across like this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Good enough, better than horrible. All right, so I'm going to lay this stencil on here like this. And then I'm going to tape it down with some pixie tape because I don't want it to move. And I don't have to worry about taping down the cardstock because the cardstock is being held down by the Masking Magic strips. Now let me show you the colors that I want to use for this rainbow. So I have Faded Brick. I think that would be a nice red. And then Tomato Soup for my orange. Then some Honey Mustard for my yellow. Fresh Asparagus for my green. Blue Denim for my blue, my indigo. This is where Turquoise Sea always ends up. And then Plum Punch for my purple. This color scheme right here just takes me right to the fall. You see all these colors in your leaves falling off the trees, and then these just enhance all of those colors. So let's start with that. All right, so I'm going to use my red brush. I am going to rub a little of the red off because I don't want to brighten up this faded brick too much. And we're going to start with that. Now, this is not a big surface area, so I don't want to go too far down on the faded brick. So I'm going to start just up here and get a little bit of that faded brick in there. Ooh, I forgot to do something. And so I'm going to flip it over and start over because it's really important, just in case you guys are working with me here. Let's flip this card over and we'll put this back. I forgot my Post-it notes. And you don't want to forget your Post-it notes because that'll really kind of make a mess. This might be harder for me to see. Let me just move this a little bit. Sorry if my head's in the way. I don't think it's in the way of the camera though. Okay. And then we'll put this back down here like this. That'll be good. Now, we've got to put our Post-it notes down. So let's just take a couple Post-it notes and block off this area because you could see what happened. I am not that precise. Now, you might be, and that's good if you are. If you could do it, that's totally fine, but I just can't. All right, so we'll get that in the middle. And to get it in the middle, I'm really looking at the top here where I can see my craft cardstock peeking through. Okay. So that looks pretty good, I think. Maybe turn it just a hair. Let's see. Okay, that looks good. All right, back to faded brick now. Whew. That was scary. All right. Get some of that in there. And then we're going to go to Tomato Soup. Love this color. This is a great third color. If you're looking for a 3-color blend for oranges, you can use Sweet Mango, Tangerine Twist, and then this Tomato Soup will give you that nice deep third color. Okay. Now we're going to go in with some honey mustard. This one. And again, I'm going to use that yellow brush, and it's totally fine that I'm going to make it darker because if I want to go back to Lemon Drop, I just have to rub that color off on that paper towel. I want this to be nice and deep. Okay. Now I'm going to use some fresh asparagus. If you don't have fresh asparagus, you can use Jelly Bean Green for this because it is, and they both lend themselves to a more olivey tone, but this one is really the one. So, you know, this is a great green for masculine cards. It's also a great green for being a second layer to Jelly Bean Green and Grass Green. I'm going to go back with what's left on my honey mustard brush here and go back into that. You see how I created that little bit of a blend there? It looks a little bit more olivey. Okay, and now we're going to go in with some blue denim. Now, I don't use my turquoise brush for this. I actually have a brush for my blues, and I use this with blue raspberry, blue denim in the navy. My teal brush I use for Ocean Mist, Sea Glass, Turquoise Sea, Tranquil Teal. All right, and now we're going to add that blue in there. And we'll go back in with that green and just green it up a little bit. And then the final color is Plum Punch, which is truly one of my favorite autumn colors. I tend to bring this out in the autumn. I do have a brush for it because it's not really as dark of a purple, but you can just rub your, wild lilac off onto a paper towel and use that same brush. It's a great purple. It's just got so much red in it. Okay. And I'm going to go back a little bit more with that faded brick. I want to add just a little more faded brick in there. Now, if you don't want to use faded brick, you could even use a brown up here. If you wanted it a little bit more brown, you could blend in a little warm cocoa. But I do think faded brick and tomato soup look great together. All right, let's see what this turned out like. That's such a pretty pattern, isn't it? And that crisp edge. Look at that. So that could be a beautiful border on your card. You could do it going across the center if you want and pop some leaves on there. This is a beautiful background if you've got a sailboat or a lighthouse or anything like that that you want to use. I just feel like it's such a neat pattern. All right, so now I'm going to show you the card that I made with this one. So I used a greeting from the Elegant Asters stamp set, and I just added "You Are Such a Gift to Me." And then for embellishments, I used some of our metallic pearls. These metallic pearls also feel a little bit more masculine than a glittery sequin. But again, that is totally up to you what you want to use, because in reality, I know lots of guys who love gardening and flowers are their passion in the summer. So you can do whatever you want. But for those of you that like a more traditional look for male cards, masculine cards, this might be a good pattern for that, because the leaves, some people say, I've said it in the past, the leaf is the male flower. I think it's a great look. And this pattern can also be used sideways. So it just gives you such a neat look. You could pop a big word on there. It would make a really nice birthday card as well. All right, so that is our third design. Now for our final card, this is where I'm going to veer off a little bit. And I'm going to tell you that you don't always have to have all of the colors of the rainbow to have a rainbow blend. So in doing a winter card, I'm going to stay away from, you could do a traditional winter holiday Christmassy card with reds and greens and things like that. But red and green is very hard to blend together, because in between red and green, you're going to get brown. So it's not a great choice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just choose 4 colors in the rainbow. I'm going to pick them right out of the center, and I'm going to skip red and orange, and I'm going to go right to yellow. And I'm going to use Prickly Pear, which I think is a great holiday color because it's got a lot of gold feel to it. Then after the yellow, you would have green. But I don't want to use a bright green. I want to use something that has a more cool, wintry feel to it. So I'm going to go with medium spruce. I think this one is going to give me a really cool look. And then I'm going to go to blue, but I'm going to use powder blue. And for my purple, I'm going to stick with that blue tone and go with Wild Wisteria instead of Wild Lilac, which has so much more red in it. This purple has so much more blue in it. So you can pick colors out of the rainbow if they're next to each other or they skip. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But these are the colors we're going to use for our winter rainbow. So I'm going to flip this card this way, this stencil this way, so I can get as much of it onto the card as possible. Let's see here. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to use some pixie tape for this. Now, I have a video on my channel that I talk a lot about color and the way I like to do color. And that video got some mixed reviews because my friends who are artists kind of said, well, you don't really have your facts accurate. And my friends that were crafters loved it because it made a lot of sense to them because it was just easier for them to understand. So I'm going to go back to some of that I talked about in that other video, and I'm just going to mention it again. And it's truly for my crafty friends because I know how we think, and I think it will help you, go forward when you're making these kinds of cards. All right, so I'm going to start with Wild Wisteria. I'm going to start right in the center of this snowflake. Now, I've seen people use this snowflake in the past where they've done a gradient going from top to bottom, and it looks beautiful. But I'm going to do my gradient starting in the center and kind of working its way out. So I'm starting with Wild Wisteria. If you don't have Wild Wisteria, any of the lilacs will work because those colors are a little bit more blue than purple. I mean, they're purple. And if you really wanted to, you could go in there with some wild lilac and you could add a little bit more into the center just to have that little pop of reddish purple like I just did. But my main color palette is what I'm sharing right now. Okay, and then I'm going to go to powder blue next. And I'm going to get that blue brush, but this has a lot of blue denim on it, and powder blue is a lighter color, so I'm going to rub some of that blue denim off. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with that powder blue, and I'm going to work my way in a circle, blending in to that Wild Wisteria. Okay. Now I'm going to use green next. Now this is a weird green to use, this spruce, but it is a blue green. So it is going to look really pretty when it's blended in. But it's going to have a different look than what we're used to. Now I do have spruce brush because I have a brush for each of my color companions, the ones that are the 3 light, mediums, and darks. I do have a brush for each of those because those colors are very unique, and I did want to kind of keep those separate. So I'm going to work this color in. Look how pretty that is. Doesn't this just give you like chilly vibes? Like you're just more wintry? So you can see it's not necessary to have that entire rainbow going. And now I'm going to add the prickly pear. Now the prickly pear is kind of a weird last choice, but I feel like it looks really good and it kind of creates a little bit of a glow around the outside of this snowflake. So I'm going to rub off that honey mustard that was left behind on my yellow brush. And then I'm going to add the prickly pear. So I am going to work it down a little bit into the green. Now, if you don't like this particular color in here, another thing that you can do, which I'm going to kind of show you, I think it's easier to see visually when I have colors out on my table, but you can work your way backwards. So you can go in one direction with the rainbow, and if you're not excited about the next color, go back the other way. And if you prefer to keep this snowflake all very cool colors, you could have gone green back to a different blue. But I like the way this looks. I feel like it gives it that really pretty glow. These look so much different when you pull the stencil off. See? Isn't that pretty? And I love how that gold, that prickly pear just blended into that green. And then it turned that green into a warm green that then turned into a very cool green. So that's such a neat combination. Then I'll show you what I did for my finished card for this one. Let me get this out of the way. So for my finished card for this one, I decided to go with a powder blue card base. I really wanted to play up on that powder blue. And again, you might notice that most of the cards, not with the exception of this one, most of the cards, I picked a color that was more inside instead of one that actually touched the outside. So I don't think it would have the same striking appeal if I had used a prickly pear card base. But by picking a color that was more internal on the card, it also makes that prickly pear really stand out, but it also puts it in its place. It's not so, you don't see it so much. It just feels more like a glow. And then I used the Peace, Love, and Joy greeting from our Holiday Silhouette stamp set, and I added some of our rhinestones in there. I didn't do every single dot, but I did most of them, and I think that little bit of extra sparkle really makes a difference on this card. Okay, so I'm going to show you all these cards and panels again, but I do want to do a little review here, and I'm going to grab some of my ink cubes. All right, so we're going to just take a red. Let's do Red Hot. We'll do Sweet Mango. We'll do Wild Dandelion. How about Lucky Clover, Turquoise Sea, and Wild Lilac. And then we've got, let's add pink to the mix, and let's add a blue to the mix. Maybe I'll add a different blue. I'll add this blue. This is blue denim. I just want to add those in just for posterity. Okay, so in all of my cards today, I didn't use any more than 6 colors, which would be the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, the turquoise, and the purple. Let me zoom in a little bit here so we kind of have this picture in our heads. Okay, so this is kind of the rainbow that I did today, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, turquoise, and purple, and violet. Now, again, where would these other colors go? Well, if I wanted to do a pink in my rainbow, I would pop it in between that purple and that red. And the reason why is because even though my artist friends will tell me that purple and red do not make pink, pink blends beautifully into purple. It will create an orchid color. And pink blends beautifully into red, and it will make a very reddish pink, like a real super hot pink. So that's where you would pop that color. Now here, I would put turquoise next to green because turquoise has a lot of green in it. And I would put blue right in here because you can mix blue and turquoise together and you're going to get more of a turquoisey blue, right? And you can mix this blue and purple together and you'll get more of a wisteria, a bluish purple in between there. So that would be my 8 colors that I would do for my rainbow. Now, this isn't exactly accurate, and I will concede to all of my artist friends who tell me that this is not accurate, that this should be indigo, it should be blue, indigo, and then violet. I get that. But as a crafter and a crafter that loves turquoise, I need to have my turquoise somewhere here on my color wheel. And that's where I choose to put it. So when you're doing these blends like this, you can see when you blend that blue into that teal into that purple, you do get your indigo and your violet in there, or your indigo and your blue in there. So I think it works really well. Same with the lighter colors. It's all the same. If you were going to do this same kind of color wheel, you could do a lighter version of this. Now, for those of you who are on our Facebook group, we have charts for each of our color families of a summer rainbow, a winter rainbow, an autumn rainbow, and a spring rainbow. And it gives you colors that you can use. I don't know if they're exactly the colors that I use today, but they certainly will help you get started if you're looking. And I also have one for our Electropop inks, which are very easy because they are a rainbow. So, you know, you use them all to create the rainbow. So let's take a look one more time. Well, before we do that, I'm going to put these panels out. But Tom,
Yeah.
you know, everybody out there is saying, isn't there a word of the day today? There has to be a word of the day, even though it's a premiere.
Okay, that's a lot of color going on there, but
I know, right?
If you have time for a word of the day, here it is. Okay, so has to do with food, and so the fancy word for food is cuisine, right?
Cuisine, yes.
Cuisine, yes. So when you're going over a friend's house and you're sampling their cuisine, they're cooking for you, or you're going on vacation and you're sampling the cuisine, or you're on a cruise ship or something like that. Sometimes, occasionally, I guess it might happen in some households or some vacations where you have to ask the question, what is this? Right? Doesn't happen often, I guess, depending on, you know, what your family history is for cooking but in that case, you're sampling not cuisine in the regular spelling, but cuisine quiz. What is this?
What is this thing I'm eating?
Cuisine.
That's awesome. I love it. Oh, all right. Well, that's great. I love it. What's the cuisine? All right. So here we go. Here are our 4 seasonal rainbows. We've got our winter, we've got our spring, we've got summer, and we've got fall or autumn. And then here are those finished cards. We'll take a look at them one more time. Here is the winter one. Here is the spring one. Here's the summer one. And here is the autumn one.
Well, the choice of background is a big choice, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, you know, there's just so many different things that you can do. And I don't know. Sometimes people think that they can only do these rainbows in the summer. But you can create rainbow blends any time of the year, and you can do full rainbow blends and still stay within that autumn theme, that summer theme, or that spring theme. And if I were going to add colors to the winter, I've got my yellow, green, blue, and violet. The red that I would use would probably be red velvet. And the orange that I would use, I'd probably go with something like tomato soup because I would want it to stay rich and deep. But I really like the winter with this kind of cool thing going. I think you don't really need to do much. Oh, and then I wanted to explain one more thing here. Let me grab those ink cubes one more time. We'll bring these back here in this same order that I like to use. Okay, so let's say you're making that winter card and you wanted to start with the green. and you just wanted to go green, blue, deeper blue, and purple, because you felt like those were very cool, crisp colors. But then you didn't want to add pink and you didn't want to add yellow, but you still had more room and you wanted to keep going. I would just go green, blue, and then this, or green, turquoise, blue, purple, blue, turquoise, green. So you kind of fade forward and backward when you don't want to get into the other colors. You could do that even with these kinds of colors. If you wanted pink, red, orange, you could go back to red and go back to pink. The other thing I wanted to mention is for most of these colors, you can skip a color. As you saw in this spring card, when I started, I skipped red. I went from pink to orange. And I'm only going one step. So there it worked. Where doesn't it work? Well, if you remove yellow, you're not going to get a great blend there. So it works with pink and orange. It works with turquoise and purple, right? It'll work with green and blue. But this one doesn't really work. So I would make myself a little chart if I were you, or if you're just really curious and you really want to figure it out and you're like, oh, I want to do orange and I want to do green, but what's it going to look like? Just test it out on a scrap piece of paper before you put it on your project, because in this case, it really wouldn't look that good. But, you know, that's the only one really, because if you took this one out, you certainly can blend those together, right? They're primary colors and they're going to make orange. So you're going to end up with orange in the middle of the blend. So when you get to this kind of thing, test it out a little bit, play with it, try some blends, use some cheap paper and just grab a stencil and see what you come up with and create your own beautiful rainbows. Well, what do you think, Tom?
Delightful.
My shirt? Did I come through with my shirt?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be taking pictures of all of these cards and I'll post them in our Facebook group a little bit later. And I will also post them here on my YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. So you'll get to see these cards up close and you'll get to see the blends up close as well. And then let's see. Well, Tom and I are not going to have a video this weekend, or I'm not going to have a video this weekend. It is a holiday weekend, and I know a lot of you are busy out there doing things for the holiday weekend. Tom and I are going to take a little time off, and but we will be back next Tuesday night with another Stampin' Chat Live, so we can't wait to see you for that. All right, everybody. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's premiere. We've been chatting a lot with you in the chat, and we've been having so much fun with you. I know we are. I already know, even though I pre-recorded this, I already know how much fun that is. And we are going to see you next time. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you all so very much. And we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.